Hey guys, today we're going to be making some rose petal and lavender infused honey using both fresh rose petals and lavender. It's a super simple recipe. All you really need is your fresh plant material and some honey. But stay tuned to the very end of the video where we're going to be doing a bonus recipe, adding just one more ingredient to turn it into a syrup. You're going to need a small glass jar and your fresh rose petals. I try and gather my rose petals before the sun comes up in the morning or also in the evening after the sun has gone down, so they're not wilted at all and they're at their peak. Once you have all your roses collected, start by taking the petals off the stem and discard any of the green portion. Very important to note that your rose petals should be gathered from an organic source, a garden, friend, a neighbor, a local farm, or from a specialty produce store because this is meant to be edible. And this step is totally optional, but I added a rose quartz. Rose quartz is a gentle healer that helps open up your heart chakra and allow yourself to be open to love, whether it's for yourself or others. Once your jar is about 3/4 full with the rose petals, begin to add your honey. Going to want to add the honey in sections, and between each pour you want to just mix it up with a chopstick or a fork or anything you have lying around to get all the air pockets out and mix the flowers into the honey. Continue this process of pouring in the honey and stirring until your jar is all the way full to the top. Once the honey begins to settle and fall towards the bottom, you might want to cap it off a little bit with some extra honey just to make sure that all the flowers are submerged. Place the lid on your jar and you can let this honey set from anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And of course, honey doesn't really go bad. It's a preservative, so if you leave it a little bit longer, that's totally okay. Now it's time to move on to the lavender version, and you're going to repeat the same process, just remove the flowers from the stems. And for the lavender, the stems and the leaves are also edible. I just chose to remove the flowers only because my jar is pretty small. But if you wanted to use the whole plant, just use a knife and chop it up into smaller pieces. Place your lavender into your jar, remembering to pack it down just a little bit so that you can make room for the honey. Like in the rose honey, this is also optional, but I'm adding a few amethyst chips to this lavender blend. Amethyst makes a great addition to the lavender because it's extremely calming, relaxing, opens your third eye, and it's a very meditative and a highly spiritual stone. And don't forget, make sure to stir up the honey to get rid of any air bubbles and pockets. Continue doing this, adding layers and stirring, adding more honey and stirring until you've reached the very top and cap off your jar. Once your honey has finished infusing, make sure to strain out the herb. Both of these infused honeys can be used in tea, on a warm slice of bread, drizzled over fruit, mixed into a lemonade, pretty much in any way you would use honey. The honey is infused with the rose and lavender's healing properties, so it's not only just tasty but also medicinal. Aside from eating the honey, you can also use this in any of your magical workings or even in your beauty regimen as a face mask. If you've watched this far, I'm going to show you how to turn the rose petal honey into a syrup. You can call it a syrup or an elixir, but this concoction blends alcohol and honey, so it's more of a tincture with a little bit of honey, making it a thicker consistency, and you can eat it as a syrup. But it's still a medicinal preparation. Just as you did with the rose petal honey, just cut up your roses using a knife or your fingers, tear it into smaller pieces, and place it into your jar. Fill the jar about 3/4 of the way full with your alcohol. I like to use a 100 proof grain alcohol, such as an Everclear, but if you have vodka and that's all you can find, that will also work. Brandy is also another great choice that is more commonly used in these types of preparations. Fill the rest of the jar with honey up to the very top. For the last little bit of your jar, you're just going to add in maybe a 1/4 inch of vodka. This makes it easier to shake up the honey, as the honey tends to create a sort of seal in the jar. So this helps break that up. So just shake the jar up, and then you can leave this jar for another 4 to 6 weeks like the honey. After you've let the rose petals infuse, you can strain them out and place the syrup into a dropper bottle and take it much like a tincture. You can start off with 20 to 30 drops a day and increase from there if you need to. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below.